Have you ever wondered what makes a life truly meaningful? What makes some people calm, confident, and successful, even when life throws challenges they cannot control? Imagine walking along a quiet path, the morning sun warming your face, birds singing softly, and in your mind, you hear whispers from people who lived thousands of years ago, people who thought deeply about life, about success, about happiness. These whispers are not magic. They are lessons from those we call philosophers, but today, you will see them not as strange, distant thinkers, but as guides for your everyday life. I want you to imagine Socrates standing in the streets of ancient Athens, surrounded by people who are busy, loud, and distracted, yet he is calm, smiling, and asking simple questions. He asks, "What is the good life?" You might think, "Why does this matter to me?" But Socrates knew something important. The questions we ask shape the life we live. And right there, in that busy city, he begins a conversation with anyone willing to stop and listen. That is the first lesson, the power of curiosity. You see, asking questions is not just for philosophers. It is for anyone who wants to understand life and speak clearly about it. Think about it. When was the last time you asked a question because you truly wanted to know, not just to answer someone back? Socrates teaches us that listening is the first step to understanding. And as you listen to these stories, I want you to practice your English by imagining yourself in those conversations. Picture yourself walking beside Socrates, repeating his questions softly in your mind, saying them out loud if you want, feeling the words in your mouth, letting them form naturally. Language is like this. It grows when it is used, when it is felt, when it carries meaning. Now, travel with me to Rome, a city of marble, politics, and endless ambition. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, sitting in his study late at night. He is tired, the weight of ruling a vast empire pressing on his shoulders, yet he writes simple words in his journal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about this carefully. How often do we get upset by things outside our control? A traffic jam, a rude comment, a mistake at work. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we do not need to control everything. We can control how we react, how we think, and how we speak. And here is a secret for learning English. Your mind is like this, too. If you focus on words, sentences, and sounds you cannot yet control, you feel stressed, frustrated, and slow. But if you focus on your mind, you're listening, you're speaking in small steps, you find strength. One word at a time, one sentence at a time, your language grows like a tree, slowly but surely, if you care for it patiently. Across the world and across time, Confucius in China teaches a different lesson, but it is connected. He walks among students in a quiet garden, watching the river flow, listening to the birds. He smiles and says, "Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace." Do you feel that? These words are simple, yet they carry a rhythm, a flow, and a connection to life. Think about learning English as a similar journey. Each new word is a small seed. Confidence comes when you use it. Hope grows when you understand it. And peace comes when your language allows you to express yourself freely, naturally, without fear. So today, you are not just listening, you are planting seeds. I want you to repeat the sentences, softly in your voice, as if you are speaking to a friend. Feel them. Taste the words. Let them roll from your tongue like water in a quiet stream. But let us pause and reflect for a moment. Imagine you are sitting by a fire in a quiet room. Outside, the wind blows, and you hear distant voices. Inside, you hear your own heartbeat. And in your mind, you hear the whispers of ancient philosophers asking you gently, "Who are you? What do you seek? How do you live?" These questions can be frightening because they ask you to look inside yourself, but they are also beautiful because they guide you to understand the world and yourself. English can be like this fire. You can sit by it, warm yourself with stories, conversations, and lessons. Each word you speak, each sentence you understand, is like adding another log to the fire. It grows, it spreads light, it creates warmth. Now imagine a challenge. You are in a busy city today, your phone rings constantly, notifications blink on your screen, people rush past you. You want to focus, to speak English clearly, to listen deeply, but there is noise everywhere. What would Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, or Confucius do? Socrates would pause, notice what is happening, and ask a question. Marcus Aurelius would take a deep breath, control his mind, and act with calm. Confucius would observe, reflect, and learn from the moment. And you? You can do the same. Even in a noisy world, you can listen carefully, speak slowly, and let your words carry meaning. English is not only about vocabulary, it is about presence. Be present in your mind, your voice, and your understanding. Let me tell you a story of a young Roman student named Lucius. He was nervous, quiet, and unsure. He wanted to speak in public but feared making mistakes. Every day, he practiced a few words, a few sentences, slowly and patiently, imagining Marcus Aurelius watching and encouraging him. Over time, he became confident. He learned that mistakes are not failures, they are lessons. And this is true for you, learning English today. Mistakes are whispers from the past, guiding you to speak better, to listen carefully, and to grow steadily. As we walk further into these stories, imagine a river flowing past ancient lands and modern cities. The river carries lessons, patience, curiosity, self-control, hope. Each philosopher is a stone in the river, shaping the water, giving it direction. And your mind is the riverbank. English flows along you, shaping your thinking, your speaking, your understanding. If you resist, the river splashes and frustrates you. If you follow, the water smooths your mind, your words, and your confidence. So, here is your first exercise. Imagine Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, and Confucius walking beside you. Repeat after me slowly in your mind. I can control my mind. I can ask questions. I can learn patiently. I can speak clearly. I can listen deeply. Feel the words. Let them move from your mind to your mouth. Let them sound simple. Let them sound strong. Let them grow like a seed in the earth. This is the beginning of transformation. English is not just a language. It is a way to practice patience, curiosity, courage, and calm, exactly what the philosophers practiced. By the end of the section, remember this. Learning English is like walking with the wise. You do not need to rush. You do not need to impress anyone. You need to listen, repeat, reflect, and grow. Each sentence you understand, each question you ask, each word you speak aloud is a step in your journey. And the journey itself is the treasure, not the destination. As we prepare to move into the next part of our story, we will meet a young woman in Athens who struggles with fear of speaking, a man in Rome facing impossible decisions, and a student in China searching for inner peace. Through their experiences, we will explore how ancient wisdom can guide us today, how small habits shape language and life, and how listening carefully can change everything. So take a deep breath, relax your mind, and let us continue our journey together, one story, one lesson, one sentence at a time. Imagine the bustling streets of Athens, sun shining brightly, and a young woman named Callista walking carefully among the crowd. She carries a notebook, its pages full of questions, ideas, and words she wants to say but has never spoken aloud. Callista is like many of us when we start learning something new, nervous, unsure, afraid to make mistakes. She hears Socrates' voice in her mind. The unexamined life is not worth living. But she wonders, how can I examine my life if I cannot speak? Today, Callista will face a challenge, a small but powerful moment that will change how she thinks about speaking and listening. Callista's teacher tells her to read aloud in front of the class. Her heart races. Her hands tremble. Words feel heavy in her mouth, and for a moment, she wants to hide, to close the notebook and run away. But then she remembers Marcus Aurelius, writing in his journal late at night, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." These words echo in her mind. Speaking English, like being a good person, is not about perfection. It is about action. Callista takes a deep breath and begins. Her voice is soft at first, almost like a whisper, but as she continues, the words flow more easily. Every sentence she speaks strengthens her confidence, just like every journal entry strengthened Marcus Aurelius' resolve. Now, let's pause for a moment. Listen to your own voice in your mind. Imagine saying, "I can speak clearly. I can listen carefully. I can understand." Say it slowly. Feel each word. This is exactly what Callista does. Speaking is not magic. It is practice, patience, and courage. And the more she speaks, the more she learns. Across the world, in Rome, a young man named Lucius faces a different challenge. He is studying philosophy, but also helping his family run a small shop. Customers are impatient, coins are heavy, and decisions must be made quickly. One day, a difficult customer enters, angry and loud. Lucius feels the tension rising inside him. He remembers Marcus Aurelius' advice, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." He takes a slow breath, counts to 3, and speaks calmly. The customer softens, the tension fades, and Lucius learns a simple but powerful truth: controlling your mind controls your actions. English is similar. When you feel nervous speaking or listening, pause. Breathe. Think. Speak slowly. Control your mind, and your words will follow. Meanwhile, far in the east, a student named Mei walks along a river in ancient China. She watches the water flow, the leaves drifting gently, and she practices repeating Confucius words softly to herself. Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. Mei is shy. She fears making mistakes. But day by day, as she repeats these words, as she speaks them to herself and aloud to her teacher, she notices something remarkable. Her confidence grows. She begins to ask questions in class. She answers simple questions from her friends. Each small act of speaking becomes a step toward understanding herself and the world. These 3 young learners, in Athens, Rome, and China, all face the same challenge: fear of speaking, fear of making mistakes, fear of judgment. And here is the lesson for you: fear is natural, but it does not have to stop you. English is a living skill. It grows when you use it, when you risk mistakes, when you allow yourself to speak and listen. The philosophers understood this too. They knew that courage, patience, and reflection were more important than perfection. Now imagine yourself in their place. You have a word in English that you want to say but hesitate. Take a deep breath. Repeat it softly. Say it again. Connect it to a simple sentence. Let your words flow like a river. Do not worry if they are not perfect. The river does not stop because of a small rock. It flows around it. You can flow around mistakes too, and each time you speak, your confidence grows. Let's explore further. One day, Callista is walking near the marketplace when she sees a debate. People argue loudly, voices overlapping, ideas clashing. She wants to join but feels small and unsure. Socrates' voice whispers again, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Callista realizes something important. She does not need to know everything. She only needs curiosity. Asking questions, speaking from her heart, trying to understand, this is enough. She steps forward and asks a simple question. The debaters pause. They answer politely. Callista feels her courage rising. Every question she asks in English, every sentence she practices, every listening moment, shapes her mind and her voice. Lucius, too, faces a turning point. A merchant asks him for help solving a dispute. He feels pressure, fear, and responsibility. But Marcus Aurelius' words echo, "You cannot escape the consequences of your actions, but you can shape your character." Lucius speaks carefully, listens attentively, and finds a solution. He learns that speaking English or any language is not just about words. It is about character, about patience, about calm focus under pressure. May's story reaches a climax in a small classroom. The teacher asks her to explain her thoughts about a story. Her mouth feels dry, her hands shake. But she recalls Confucius' words about education and confidence. Slowly she speaks. She makes a few mistakes. Her teacher smiles. Her classmates nod. She realizes something profound. Learning is about courage, not perfection. English is about courage, about showing up every day, about speaking, listening, and repeating. Now, let us pause and reflect. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your own challenge with English. Maybe it is speaking in a meeting, asking a question in class, or simply repeating a sentence aloud. Feel the fear. Then remember the philosophers. Take a breath. Step forward. Speak one sentence. Listen carefully. Repeat. This small act is your transformation. Small steps, daily practice, and reflection build mastery. The river flows slowly, but eventually it reaches the ocean. Your English, too, will flow naturally with patience and courage. Here is an exercise for you. Take one sentence you know in English. Repeat it slowly, aloud if possible. Think about the meaning. Imagine you are standing with Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, or Confucius. Ask yourself, what does this sentence teach me? Say it again. This repetition is not boring. It is building strength, confidence, and understanding. By the end of this section, we see a clear pattern. The ancient philosophers teach timeless lessons: curiosity, courage, patience, and reflection. Callista, Lucius, and May show us how these lessons can be applied in life and in language learning. And you, listening to this story, can do the same. Speak slowly. Listen carefully. Ask questions. Repeat. Learn patiently. Mistakes are steps, not failures. Your mind, your voice, and your English will grow together. As we prepare for Section 3, we will follow these learners into moments of real challenge, moments where fear, impatience, or distraction tests them. We will see how habits, reflection, and mindfulness, guided by ancient wisdom, transform not only their English skills, but their confidence and understanding of life itself. Take a deep breath, relax, and get ready to walk with them through these next steps. One sentence, one thought, one moment at a time. Imagine a stormy day in ancient Athens. Clouds gather above, rain taps softly on the stone streets, and Callista walks with her notebook clutched tightly in her hands. She is nervous, thinking about the next challenge, speaking in front of a group of students she admires. Her heart pounds, her mind spins with doubts. What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh? What if I forget the words? These thoughts feel like thunder and lightning in her mind. But then, she remembers Socrates' quiet voice from the past. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Focus on what matters. Speaking clearly, listening attentively, practicing patiently, these are what matter. The storm outside is nothing compared to the storm within, and Callista takes a deep breath, letting the words flow from her mind, through her mouth, and into the world. Across the Mediterranean, Lucius faces a different kind of storm. In the marketplace of Rome, the city is bustling, noisy, chaotic. Merchants shout, coins clatter, and people bump into him as he walks. Lucius feels overwhelmed, his thoughts scattered, his patience thinning. But Marcus Aurelius' words echo in his mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. He pauses. He breathes slowly. He listens carefully. Then he speaks. His words are calm, measured, precise. Slowly, the chaos calms around him. The storm is not gone, but he has learned the secret. The mind can be a harbor even in a tempest. Learning English is the same. Noise, distractions, mistakes, and fast speech may surround you, but you can anchor your mind. Listen carefully. Speak slowly. Focus. One sentence at a time. One word at a time. Far in China, May sits by the river as dusk falls, her notebook open, pen in hand. She has been practicing her English sentences for hours. Sometimes she feels frustrated because she forgets words, mixes grammar, or speaks too slowly. But she remembers Confucius' gentle advice: it does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. May smiles, repeats the sentence aloud, and notices something wonderful. Each repetition brings clarity. Each attempt builds confidence. Each reflection strengthens understanding. The storm of doubt is fading because she is steady, patient, and present. Now let's pause. Imagine yourself in these moments. Your mind is busy. Life is noisy. Maybe you feel unsure about English. Maybe you forget words or mispronounce them. This is normal. Every learner experiences it. But notice how our young learners respond. They pause, breathe, observe, reflect, and act. That is the key. English is not just vocabulary or grammar. It is presence, attention, and patience. It is your voice carrying meaning, even when the world around you feels chaotic. Let me tell you a story about a turning point. Callista is invited to speak in a discussion circle, a group of students sharing ideas freely. Her first attempt is shaky. She stumbles on a few words, her voice barely audible. Her mind whispers, "I am not good enough." But she takes another deep breath and remembers Socrates' words about curiosity. She asks a simple question: why do we value knowledge more than experience? Suddenly, the room changes. People listen. They answer. A conversation grows. Callista feels a spark inside her, the spark of courage. Speaking English, like living fully, is not about perfection. It is about engagement, curiosity, and persistence. Lucius faces a similar moment in Rome. A difficult customer asks him to explain a problem in his small shop. Coins are counted, orders are shouted, the street is noisy. Lucius wants to panic. But he remembers Marcus Aurelius' practice: observe calmly, control your mind, respond wisely. He speaks clearly, listens carefully, and solves the problem. His confidence grows. Here is the lesson for you. Every real-life situation is an opportunity to practice English. Speaking and listening in stress, in noise, in difficulty, this is where true skill develops. Meanwhile, May experiences her breakthrough. She is asked to read a short story aloud in class. Her hands shake, her voice wavers, and she feels all eyes upon her. But she recalls Confucius' words: education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. She speaks slowly, clearly, and thoughtfully. She makes a few mistakes. Her classmates smile and nod. Her teacher praises her effort. May realizes the courage to speak, not perfection, is the key to learning. Now, imagine your own storm, distractions, fear, mistakes. What would Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, or Confucius advise? Pause. Breathe. Focus. Speak slowly. Listen carefully. Reflect. Repeat. The storm outside is temporary. The skill inside is permanent. English grows like a tree, slowly, steadily, through storms, sun, rain, and time. Here is a practice exercise for you. Choose one English sentence that you want to speak. Repeat it aloud slowly. Notice any mistakes. Don't stop. Repeat it again. Imagine a philosopher walking beside you, giving quiet encouragement. Feel the words in your mouth, the rhythm of the sentence, the meaning in your mind. This small exercise builds courage, patience, and presence, exactly what Callista, Lucius, and May practice every day. Let's explore another lesson. The storm is not only external, it is also internal. Callista begins to notice negative thoughts creeping in. I cannot speak fast. I cannot understand everything. Socrates teaches her to question these thoughts. Is it true that you cannot speak? Have you not already spoken some sentences? Have you not already learned some words? She realizes that fear exaggerates the problem. Step by step, sentence by sentence, the storm becomes manageable. Your mind can be trained in the same way. Mistakes are not signs of failure, they are guides. Lucius, too, learns this lesson in Rome. A busy day, mistakes in calculations, impatient customers. He feels frustration rising. Marcus Aurelius reminds him, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't let the actions of others disturb you. Lucius calms himself. He observes carefully. He speaks. He listens. He grows. In English, you will face similar moments, confusing sentences, fast speech, unknown words, but control your mind, and learning becomes natural. May's reflection is gentle but powerful. She walks along the riverbank, repeating a sentence aloud. She notices the rhythm, the sounds, the pauses. Confucius' teaching helps her see that repetition is not boring, it is building strength, like exercising a muscle. Slowly, steadily, she gains confidence. English is no longer frightening, it is a friend she can speak with every day. By the end of this section, the storm has passed for our learners, but the lessons remain. Facing fear, distraction, and self-doubt is part of learning. Pausing, reflecting, and acting with patience and presence is the key. Speaking and listening in English is a practice of courage, mindfulness, and curiosity. Callista, Lucius, and May show us the path. And you, listening now, can take your first step. Pause, breathe, speak, listen, repeat. One sentence, one word, one moment at a time. As we move into Section 4, we will see how these learners begin creating habits, small, daily practices that transform their ability to understand, speak, and think in English. We will explore routines, reflections, and exercises inspired by philosophers that make language learning natural, enjoyable, and lasting. So take a deep breath, relax, and prepare to walk with them through the next stage of growth. Imagine the sun rising over Athens. Callista wakes early, her notebook beside her bed, a pen ready. She knows that the real challenge is not just speaking in class, but building a habit speaking, listening, and thinking in English every single day. Socrates once said, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." Callista smiles as she repeats this in her mind and softly aloud. The secret of change is to focus all my energy on building the new. These words are more than philosophy. They are a guide for learning. Small daily actions, repeated patiently, create lasting change. Lucius in Rome begins a morning routine as well. He writes a short paragraph in English about his day before opening his shop. It is simple. Today I helped a customer. I listened carefully. I learned new words. He reads it aloud, slowly and clearly. Sometimes he makes mistakes. Sometimes he forgets a word. But Marcus Aurelius' wisdom reminds him that persistence matters more than perfection. One sentence, repeated and reflected upon, strengthens the mind and the voice. Slowly, Lucius notices improvement. Listening and speaking English becomes natural, like brushing teeth or taking a walk. Far in China, May creates her own practice ritual. Every afternoon, she walks along the river, repeating short English sentences, answering imagined questions from friends, and listening to the rhythm of her voice. Confucius' advice guides her. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. May notices that daily repetition, even just 5 or 10 minutes, builds confidence and skill faster than a long, irregular session. She writes a short reflection. I feel calmer today. I understand more. I can speak more clearly. This reflection is not just words, it is a mirror showing growth. Here is an important lesson for you. English, like life, is shaped by habits. Small, repeated actions matter more than rare, long efforts. 1 sentence a day, spoken slowly, is better than 10 sentences once a month. 1 question asked, 1 paragraph written, 1 reflection noted, creates momentum. Just as Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, and Confucius practiced small habits of reflection, writing, and speaking, you too can train your mind and voice daily. Let's imagine a simple daily routine you can try. In the morning, repeat 1 English sentence slowly. During the day, listen carefully to a short story, a conversation, or a video and repeat 1 phrase aloud. Before bed, reflect in a notebook. Today I learned. Today I spoke. Today I listened. This small practice builds a bridge between understanding and speaking, just like the philosophers built bridges between thought and action. Callista discovers the joy of a consistent routine. She starts noticing patterns in language. Simple words repeat, phrases sound familiar, sentences flow naturally. Her confidence grows not from perfection, but from repetition, reflection, and patience. Each small habit adds a brick to the house of her English skills. She even begins helping her classmates practice, explaining words slowly, repeating sentences, asking questions. Her language grows not just in her mind, but in her actions. Lucius also develops habits that transform his learning. He listens to conversations carefully, noting new words. He repeats sentences in his shop while counting coins. He practices politely responding to customers. Every interaction becomes a lesson, every repetition a tool for mastery. English is no longer a distant goal, it is alive in every day. Marcus Aurelius' words echo, "Don't let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason which today guides you." The reason is practice, reflection, and presence. May finds a new habit that helps her listening skills. She records herself reading a short story aloud, then listens to the recording carefully. She notices pronunciation mistakes, pauses, and rhythm. She repeats it, adjusting slowly. The river becomes her teacher, flowing gently alongside her voice, guiding her growth. Confucius' wisdom helps her see that understanding comes with patience, repetition, and reflection. Mistakes are not failure, they are feedback. Now, imagine your own daily practice. Pick 1 sentence. Repeat it aloud. Listen carefully. Reflect in your mind. Do this consistently. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. The length is less important than the habit. Slowly, your confidence will grow. Your listening skills will improve. Your sentences will flow naturally. Language is alive, and your daily practice is the spark that lights it. Let's explore 1 more example. Callista faces a difficult sentence. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. She repeats it slowly. She writes it in her notebook. She explains it aloud to her friend. The first time, it feels awkward. The second time, smoother. The third time, natural. Each repetition builds understanding, memory, and voice. Your English grows the same way, sentence by sentence, repetition by repetition. Lucius discovers the habit of reflection. Every evening, he asks, "What did I learn today? What did I understand? What words did I speak?" He writes simple answers. Sometimes 1 word, sometimes a short sentence. Every reflection strengthens memory and builds connection between thought and action. Marcus Aurelius would nod silently, seeing the power of small, consistent practice in shaping character and skill. May adds a listening habit. She listens to short dialogues, repeats sentences, pauses, and reflects. Each day, she notices small improvements, pronunciation, rhythm, comprehension. She realizes listening is not passive, it is active practice. The philosopher's wisdom guides her: patience, persistence, curiosity. Every moment of attention strengthens understanding. By the end of this section, a clear truth emerges: small, daily habits transform learning. Listening, speaking, reflecting, and repeating are simple, yet powerful. Callista, Lucius, and May show that success is not sudden. It is built gradually, patiently, like water shaping stone. And you, listening now, can start small today. One sentence, one repetition, one reflection. Slowly, consistently, your English will grow. As we prepare for Section 5, we will see these learners applying their habits to real-life situations, facing challenges in conversations, and discovering how philosophy and practice together create transformation. Step by step, sentence by sentence, moment by moment, English becomes natural, confident, and alive. Picture a busy afternoon in Athens. Callista walks toward a small gathering of students and teachers in the agora. Today, she is not just practicing words in her notebook. She is about to engage in a real conversation. Her heart beats fast. She recalls the habits she has built, repeating sentences aloud, reflecting on meaning, listening carefully. She reminds herself of Socrates' voice: "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." This is not frightening anymore, it is empowering. She approaches a small group and listens quietly as they discuss a story. Then she asks, slowly and clearly, "What makes a life meaningful?" The students pause. They answer. She listens. She responds. Step by step, sentence by sentence, Callista realizes that conversation is a dance, not a performance. English is not just memorized sentences, it is interaction, listening, speaking, reflecting, learning. Across the Mediterranean, Lucius faces a similar challenge. In the bustling Roman marketplace, he helps his father negotiate with a visiting merchant who speaks slowly and unclearly. Lucius takes a deep breath. He recalls Marcus Aurelius' guidance: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The noisy, confusing market is not a problem. It is an opportunity to practice. Lucius listens carefully, repeats phrases in his mind, and responds clearly, calmly, and politely. Each sentence strengthens understanding. Each interaction builds confidence. Mistakes may happen, but they are temporary. He realizes English is a skill, and every conversation is an exercise in courage, attention, and patience. Far in China, May experiences her first small group discussion. She hesitates at first, afraid to speak. But she recalls Confucius' words: "Study the past if you would define the future." She listens to her classmates, repeats sentences in her mind, and gradually contributes. Each word she speaks aloud strengthens understanding. The river by which she has walked daily seems to flow in harmony with her voice. She realizes that conversations are not tests, they are moments of learning, repetition, and connection. English is alive when it is spoken with attention and care. Now, think about your own conversation challenges. Maybe you fear speaking in class, chatting with colleagues, or ordering food. Callista, Lucius, and May show us a simple principle: conversation is practice, not performance. Mistakes are not failures, they are signals guiding learning. Pause. Listen. Speak. Reflect. Repeat. Step by step, your confidence grows. Let me tell you a story about a turning point in Callista's journey. One afternoon, a heated discussion arises about a story they had read. Students speak quickly, voices overlapping. Callista feels overwhelmed. Her first instinct is to stay silent. But she recalls her daily habits: repetition, reflection, listening. Slowly she speaks: "I think the character learned something important, but can someone explain what exactly?" Her question brings attention. The room quiets. The discussion continues more calmly. Callista realizes that even one clear question can shape the flow of conversation. English is not about speaking constantly. It is about speaking wisely and listening carefully. Lucius experiences a similar breakthrough. A customer becomes impatient and raises his voice. Lucius wants to panic. He pauses. He listens. He responds with clear, simple sentences. The customer smiles, and the transaction ends smoothly. Lucius feels a surge of confidence. He understands that patience, clarity, and calmness are more important than speed or complexity. English, like life, rewards presence and thoughtful action. May also faces a small but important challenge. Her teacher asks a difficult question. What is the main idea of the story? May hesitates. She remembers her practice, repeating sentences, reflecting on meaning, listening actively. She answers slowly, carefully. Her classmates nod. Her teacher praises her effort. May learns that conversations are not about perfection. They're about expression, comprehension, and courage. Let's pause here. Imagine yourself in their shoes. You have a simple conversation in English. You may make mistakes. You may hesitate. But each attempt strengthens listening, speaking, and understanding. English is alive when you interact, not just when you memorize words. Repetition, reflection, and presence transform uncertainty into skill. Now, consider a small exercise you can do today. Find one short conversation, a greeting, a question, a simple story, and practice it aloud. Repeat sentences slowly. Listen carefully to your own voice. Reflect on meaning. Try again. This is exactly what Callista, Lucius, and May do. Gradually, these small conversations accumulate into confidence, fluency, and natural understanding. Here is an insight from the philosophers. Socrates reminds us that curiosity drives learning. Ask questions. Engage in conversations. Marcus Aurelius teaches that obstacles are opportunities. Face real situations and use them to practice. Confucius shows that patience and repetition build mastery. Apply these principles daily, and every conversation becomes a stepping stone toward fluency. Callista, Lucius, and May now begin noticing patterns. Certain phrases repeat. Certain sentence structures feel familiar. Listening becomes easier. Speaking flows more naturally. They no longer fear conversation. They embrace it as practice. You, too, can follow this path. Begin with small, meaningful exchanges. Repeat phrases aloud. Listen carefully. Reflect. Gradually, conversations that once felt impossible become natural and enjoyable. By the end of this section, a clear principle emerges. Fluency is built through real interaction. Listening, speaking, and reflecting in conversations is the fastest, most natural way to grow. Mistakes are part of the process. Curiosity, patience, and courage guide every learner. Callista, Lucius, and May show that English becomes alive not in isolation, but in connection. As we prepare for Section 6, we will see how these learners face larger challenges, combining multiple skills, expressing ideas fully, and connecting lessons from philosophers to life and language. This will deepen understanding, confidence, and storytelling ability in English, step by step, sentence by sentence. Imagine a quiet evening in Athens. Callista sits by a small lamp, her notebook open. Today, she is not only speaking English, she is learning to tell a story. She remembers Socrates' advice, an unexamined life is not worth living. She asks herself, what part of my day can I share? What simple story can I tell? She begins softly, speaking aloud. Today I helped my friend find a lost book. We walked together and we laughed. I felt happy. Her sentences are simple, yet they carry emotion, rhythm, and meaning. English is not about complicated words. It is about expressing ideas, feelings, and experiences. Across Rome, Lucius practices the same skill. He recalls Marcus Aurelius' wisdom, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always rise if you will always look." Lucius thinks about his day, helping a customer, counting coins, observing the busy streets. He begins to describe it aloud in English. "I helped a customer solve a problem. I listened carefully. I felt calm and confident." At first, his sentences are short, a little awkward. But repetition, reflection, and mindfulness make his storytelling grow naturally. He notices that English begins to feel like a companion, helping him communicate, understand, and reflect on life. Far in China, May experiences storytelling with a new kind of attention. She chooses a simple scene, walking by the river, noticing birds, trees, and her own feelings. She repeats sentences aloud slowly, then arranges them into a short story. "I walked by the river. I watched the birds. I felt peaceful. I practiced English sentences. I listened carefully." Confucius' teaching guides her. It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. Storytelling becomes a habit, a bridge between thought and expression. English is no longer abstract. It is alive, personal, and reflective. Let's pause for a moment. Imagine your own simple story. Perhaps it is about your morning, a meal you cooked, a walk you took, or a conversation you had. Speak it slowly. Repeat the sentences. Reflect on their meaning. Storytelling is a powerful way to combine listening, speaking, and thinking. Each sentence is practice. Each story is growth. Now a challenge arises. Callista is asked to tell her story to a group of students. She feels nervous. She fears mistakes, mispronunciations, and forgetting words. Socrates' voice guides her. "Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Focus on what matters." What matters is not perfection. It is connection, clarity, and courage. She begins slowly, sharing her story. The room listens. Students smile. She notices their expressions. She adjusts sentences, pauses naturally, and repeats certain phrases. Each repetition strengthens comprehension, fluency, and confidence. Lucius faces a similar challenge in the Roman marketplace. A visiting merchant asks him to describe his day. Lucius hesitates, but Marcus Aurelius' words echo. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He begins narrating his day in simple English. "Today I helped a customer. I listened carefully. I learned new words." His sentences are simple but clear. The merchant nods, understanding. Lucius realizes that storytelling is more than words. It is communication, connection, and reflection. English grows naturally when we tell stories about life. May, too, encounters a moment of challenge. She is asked to tell her short story to classmates. She feels shy, uncertain. But she recalls her daily habits: repetition, reflection, listening. Slowly, she speaks. "I walked by the river. I watched the birds. I felt peaceful. I practiced English." Her classmates nod. Her teacher smiles. May feels a surge of confidence. English becomes a tool to express, reflect, and connect. Storytelling is not about complexity. It is about clarity, courage, and repetition. Now, consider your own practice. Choose one small story from your day. Speak it aloud slowly. Repeat it. Reflect on its meaning. Notice the rhythm, the pauses, the connection between sentences. Each repetition, each reflection, each spoken sentence strengthens understanding, confidence, and fluency. English is alive when it is used to communicate, to express, to reflect. Here is an important lesson from the philosophers. Socrates teaches curiosity. Ask questions, explore ideas, and reflect on life. Marcus Aurelius shows resilience. Obstacles are opportunities for practice and growth. Confucius emphasizes patience. Repetition and mindfulness create mastery. By combining these principles with storytelling, you transform English from abstract study into living skill. Callista, Lucius, and May notice a new kind of growth. Their listening improves because they pay attention to rhythm and meaning. Their speaking improves because they practice, reflect, and repeat. Their confidence grows because storytelling allows them to express ideas, feelings, and experiences. They begin to see that English is not just words, it is thinking, feeling, and communicating. Now imagine integrating these lessons into your life. Tell one small story daily. Speak it slowly. Repeat sentences. Reflect on meaning. Ask questions. Listen carefully to yourself and others. Notice mistakes without judgment. Each story becomes a lesson. Each sentence a step toward fluency. Over time, English grows naturally, like a river flowing steadily toward the sea. By the end of this section, a pattern emerges: storytelling, daily habits, reflection, and conversation combine to build fluency. Callista, Lucius, and May show us that English is learned not through memorization alone, but through practice, courage, presence, and reflection. Mistakes are guides. Stories are bridges. Repetition is strength. Curiosity, patience, and mindfulness make learning meaningful and lasting. As we move into Section 7, we will explore advanced listening and speaking techniques, where learners apply their habits and storytelling skills to longer conversations, real-life situations, and complex ideas. We will see how ancient wisdom continues to guide English fluency, emotion, and flow, step by step, sentence by sentence. Imagine a calm afternoon in Athens. Callista sits under a tree with a small group of students. Today, they are not only speaking English, but listening deeply. Socrates' advice echoes in her mind. Wisdom begins in wonder. Callista listens carefully to each student's story, paying attention to the words, the rhythm, the pauses. Then she repeats softly in her mind, and aloud, I listened carefully. I understand the story. I feel the meaning. Listening is not passive, it is active practice. Each sound, each word, each pause is a step toward fluency. Across Rome, Lucius practices in a busy marketplace. He listens to merchants, tourists, and friends speaking quickly in English. At first, he struggles. Words are fast. Sentences overlap. But he recalls Marcus Aurelius' guidance. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Lucius pauses, focuses on the speaker's words, repeats them mentally, and responds carefully. Listening becomes active, speaking becomes precise, and comprehension grows naturally. Far in China, May sits in her classroom. Her teacher tells a story in English. May listens attentively, noticing the words, the tone, and the flow. She repeats key phrases aloud slowly, practicing rhythm and pronunciation. Confucius' words guide her. It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. Repetition and reflection are essential. May realizes that listening carefully, repeating, and reflecting strengthens both understanding and speaking. Now let's pause. Imagine your own listening practice. You hear a short story, a conversation, or a sentence in English. Don't rush. Focus on rhythm, pronunciation, and meaning. Repeat it slowly aloud. Reflect on what it means. Listening carefully builds comprehension, confidence, and natural flow. English is learned not only by speaking, but by listening actively, repeating, and reflecting. Callista faces a challenge. A student tells a long story quickly. She struggles to follow every word. But she remembers Socrates' advice. Focus on understanding the main ideas first, not every word. She repeats key phrases aloud, then summarizes in her own words. The story is about helping a friend. The main lesson is kindness. Her comprehension improves. Her speaking becomes more confident. The combination of listening, repetition, and reflection creates flow. Lucius also encounters a challenge. A tourist asks several questions in fast English. Lucius feels overwhelmed. But he uses Marcus Aurelius' principle: pause, breathe, focus on what you can control. He listens carefully, catches key words, repeats phrases in his mind, and answers slowly, clearly. Each response builds confidence. English becomes not only understandable but natural and flowing. May's breakthrough comes during a classroom discussion. The teacher tells a story and asks questions. May listens carefully, repeats key sentences aloud, and reflects before speaking. Her classmates listen attentively. May feels calm and confident. She realizes that listening and speaking are connected. Each supports the other. English flows naturally when practiced this way. Now, consider your own practice. Choose a short story or conversation in English. Listen carefully. Repeat key phrases aloud. Reflect. Summarize in your own words. Speak slowly and clearly. This active listening and speaking builds understanding, confidence, and flow. Mistakes are guides, not obstacles. Each repetition, each reflection, strengthens fluency. Let's explore one more example. Callista tells a longer story aloud to her group. At first, she hesitates, pauses, and stumbles. But she listens to her own words, repeats sentences mentally, and continues. Socrates' advice guides her. Curiosity and reflection lead to mastery. By the end, her story flows naturally. Her sentences are clear. Her listeners understand. Her confidence grows. Lucius uses a similar approach. He practices listening to fast conversations, repeating phrases, reflecting on meaning, and responding naturally. Each interaction strengthens comprehension and fluency. Marcus Aurelius' wisdom reminds him that obstacles are opportunities. Difficult listening becomes a chance to improve, and English grows alive in practice. May continues listening practice with her classmates. She repeats phrases, reflects on pronunciation, and speaks carefully. Confucius' teaching reminds her patience is essential. Slowly, her listening and speaking improve. Sentences flow naturally. English becomes not a challenge, but a living skill. By the end of this section, a key truth emerges. Listening, speaking, repetition, and reflection are inseparable. Fluent English requires active attention, patience, and courage. Callista, Lucius, and May show that through consistent practice, storytelling, and philosophical guidance, comprehension and expression flow naturally. Mistakes are stepping stones. Listening deeply allows your voice to grow with clarity and emotion. As we prepare for Section 8, we will see our learners integrate everything: habits, conversations, storytelling, listening, and reflection. They will face real-life situations that challenge all skills at once, showing how English can be practiced like a living, flowing art. Step by step, sentence by sentence, we will follow their transformation. Imagine the early morning light over Athens. Callista stands in the agora, notebook in hand. Today, she will speak to a small group of students and visitors, telling a story, asking questions, and listening carefully. She is not afraid. Socrates' words echo in her mind. Wisdom begins in wonder. She begins her story slowly, aloud, with clear sentences. Yesterday, I walked in the garden. I saw a bird and felt happy. I shared my thoughts with a friend. She pauses, listens to the group's responses, repeats their key phrases aloud, and continues. Her voice flows naturally, her sentences clear, her confidence visible. Storytelling, listening, and conversation have become integrated into one skill. Across Rome, Lucius faces a similar integration challenge. A merchant asks him to explain a complex transaction. Lucius listens carefully, repeats key phrases in his mind, and responds slowly and clearly. Then he summarizes. Today I helped a customer. I listened carefully. I solved the problem calmly. He combines habits, repetition, reflection, and courage. Marcus Aurelius' wisdom guides him. Obstacles become opportunities. Challenges strengthen character. English is no longer separate practice. It is alive, flowing, and connected to life itself. Far in China, Mei integrates all her skills in a classroom discussion. The teacher tells a story, asks questions, and prompts conversation. Mei listens carefully, repeats phrases aloud, reflects on meaning, and responds naturally. She even shares a short story about her walk by the river. Her classmates understand, smile, and respond. Confucius' teaching reminds her, it does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. All her habits, listening, repeating, reflecting, storytelling, come together. English is not just words, it is expression, understanding, and connection. Now, imagine your own integration. You can practice English in real-life situations by combining listening, speaking, storytelling, and reflection. Start small. Listen to a short story. Repeat key phrases aloud. Tell your own story. Ask questions. Reflect. Speak slowly. Step by step, these actions build fluency, clarity, and confidence. Mistakes are feedback, not failure. Each moment of practice strengthens the mind, the voice, and understanding. Callista, Lucius, and Mei face their first combined challenge. Callista is asked to tell her story, answer questions, and participate in conversation with several students at once. She listens carefully, repeats phrases mentally, asks questions, and speaks clearly. Each step strengthens her skills. Lucius must listen to multiple merchants speaking quickly, repeat sentences mentally, respond naturally, and reflect on meaning. Mei listens to her classmates, repeats key sentences aloud, tells her story, and answers questions thoughtfully. In all three cases, the integration of listening, speaking, reflection, and storytelling creates natural English flow. Let's pause. Think about your own practice. Pick one small situation, telling a story, asking questions, listening carefully. Combine the skills you have practiced. Speak slowly. Listen actively. Reflect. Repeat. Integration is the key to fluency. English is not learned in pieces. It is learned as a living, connected practice. Now, consider a small exercise to start integration today. Take a short story, repeat sentences aloud, reflect on meaning, ask a question, respond to yourself or a friend. Then summarize your story in simple sentences. Each step strengthens fluency. Each repetition builds confidence. Step by step, sentence by sentence, integration turns isolated practice into living skill. Callista notices that her confidence grows as she integrates skills. She no longer fears speaking. Listening is natural. Storytelling feels effortless. Interaction flows smoothly. Lucius sees the same in Rome. His voice is clear, responses are calm, comprehension improves, and English becomes part of life. Mei realizes that her patience, repetition, and reflection now create natural fluency. English is no longer a subject to study. It is a skill to live. Here is an important insight from the philosophers. Socrates emphasizes curiosity. Ask questions, explore, reflect. Marcus Aurelius teaches resilience. Obstacles are opportunities for growth. Confucius reminds patience. Steady practice builds mastery. Integration combines these principles with listening, speaking, reflection, and storytelling. The result is transformation. English becomes natural, confident, and alive. By the end of this section, a pattern is clear. Fluency emerges from integration. Habits, conversation, listening, storytelling, and reflection combine into a seamless skill. Callista, Lucius, and May demonstrate that English is learned fully not by memorization, but by active practice, courage, curiosity, and patience. Mistakes guide learning. Stories connect ideas. Repetition strengthens memory. Listening and speaking flow naturally. As we prepare for Section 9, we will explore reflection, review, and consolidation. Our learners will look back at their journey, notice progress, and understand how philosophical lessons and consistent practice created transformation. This reflection will strengthen retention, confidence, and long-term fluency. Step by step, sentence by sentence, English becomes not only understandable but expressive, confident, and alive. Imagine a quiet evening in Athens. Callista sits by a lamp, notebook open, reviewing her journey. She remembers the first day she spoke in class, trembling, uncertain. Socrates' words echo in her mind. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. She smiles. She now understands. Learning is a journey, not a destination. Mistakes were never failures. They were stepping stones. Every sentence spoken, every story told, every listening moment shaped her confidence and fluency. Across Rome, Lucius reflects in the marketplace after a long day. He recalls his earliest moments of hesitation, feeling lost amid fast conversations. Marcus Aurelius' advice guides him. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every challenge became practice. Every repetition, reflection, and careful listening built clarity and confidence. Lucius now speaks naturally, even under pressure. He realizes that English is no longer a separate task. It is a part of life, woven into daily interactions, reflection, and expression. Far in China, May sits quietly by the river, listening to the gentle flow of water, reflecting on her journey. She remembers the shyness she once felt, the fear of making mistakes. Confucius' words resonate. It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. May smiles. Daily habits, repetition, reflection, and storytelling turned uncertainty into confidence, hesitation into clarity. English is now a companion, a tool to express thought, understand others, and connect deeply. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Think about the first time you tried to speak English, the times you hesitated, the moments of confusion. Remember, progress comes from consistent action, reflection, and courage. Mistakes are not setbacks, they are opportunities. Every word repeated, every sentence spoken, every story told contributes to fluency, clarity, and confidence. Let's summarize the key principles our learners practiced. First, habits matter. Daily repetition of simple sentences, reflections, and listening exercises builds a foundation for fluency. Callista, Lucius, and May all discovered that short, consistent practice is more powerful than long, irregular sessions. 5 minutes every day is better than 1 hour once a week. Second, courage is essential. Speaking in class, in the marketplace, or among peers can feel intimidating. Fear is natural, but it does not define progress. Each small step, asking a question, telling a story, repeating a phrase, strengthens confidence. Mistakes are guides, not obstacles. Third, active listening transforms learning. Listening carefully to sentences, stories, and conversations, and repeating phrases aloud strengthens comprehension and pronunciation. Listening is not passive. It is active engagement that improves speaking and understanding simultaneously. Fourth, storytelling connects skills. Simple stories from daily life, walking, observing, helping, reflecting, allow learners to combine listening, speaking, reflection, and vocabulary naturally. Storytelling builds clarity, rhythm, and confidence. Fifth, philosophical guidance supports mindset. Socrates teaches curiosity, Marcus Aurelius teaches resilience, Confucius teaches patience. These timeless lessons guide not only learning English, but approaching challenges, maintaining consistency, and embracing growth. Now, let's visualize transformation. Callista no longer fears speaking in class. She tells stories naturally, asks questions, and listens actively. Lucius communicates confidently in the busy marketplace. He understands, responds, and expresses ideas clearly. May shares her reflections and stories with ease, listens attentively, and repeats sentences naturally. Each learner demonstrates how habits, reflection, courage, and philosophical wisdom combine to create fluent, confident English. Here is a small exercise for reflection. Take a notebook and write 3 sentences about your day. Speak them aloud slowly. Repeat them. Reflect on their meaning. Then ask yourself, what did I do well today? What can I improve tomorrow? This simple exercise integrates listening, speaking, reflection, and personal connection. Over time, it strengthens fluency and confidence naturally. Another exercise is storytelling. Recall one small event from today. Speak it aloud in English. Repeat sentences. Ask a question about it and answer. Reflect on how it felt to express yourself. Did you hesitate? Did words flow naturally? What did you notice about rhythm, pronunciation, and clarity? These steps help consolidate practice into real-life communication skills. Finally, remember the power of patience and consistency. Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, and Confucius all practiced small, daily actions that compounded into wisdom. You, too, can transform your English through daily practice, courage, reflection, and storytelling. Mistakes guide learning. Listening supports speaking. Habits build fluency. Stories connect meaning. Over time, English becomes natural, expressive, and alive. By the end of this journey, a pattern is clear. Learning English is not about memorizing words or grammar rules alone. It is about combining listening, speaking, reflection, storytelling, and consistent practice. Courage, curiosity, and patience create transformation. Callista, Lucius, and May's stories show the path. Your journey mirrors theirs. Small, deliberate steps, repeated daily, lead to mastery. Take a deep breath. Reflect on your journey. Speak one sentence aloud. Listen to your voice. Repeat. Reflect again. Each small moment contributes to transformation. English is now more than a language. It is a way to express thought, connect with others, and understand the world. Step by step, sentence by sentence, habit by habit, story by story, your English grows confident, fluent, and alive. And now, as this story comes to a close, remember one final principle from the philosophers. Curiosity, courage, patience, and reflection are your guides. English is not a destination. It is a journey, an experience, and a living skill. Use it daily. Speak it boldly. Listen actively. Reflect deeply. Share your stories. Transform your learning into living, breathing English.